Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. Welcome to our yet another episode of Places in News. In this session, we are going to understand the important places that were in news between the 11th of April and the 17th of April. So if you're finding this initiative to be helpful, do let us know by liking the video, by sharing your comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. So let's start with the first topic. Under the first topic, we are going to understand the distribution of mangrove forests in India. This topic was in news because last week, India's Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change tabled a report in the Parliament according to which India's coastline is witnessing rapid erosion. Especially the east coast of India, particularly the coastline along West Bengal, is witnessing rapid coastal erosion, primarily due to the destruction of natural barriers such as mangrove forests. See, mangrove forests play a very important ecological role. I hope you know that mangroves are usually found in coastal areas along the wetland ecosystems. These mangrove forests render a number of ecological services, not just by hosting a variety of flora and fauna and boosting the biodiversity of the region, but they also play an important role in safeguarding us against the impact of natural disasters. They act as a natural defense or as a natural barrier against coastal erosion, against coastal floods, and also against the impact of cyclones and tsunamis. That's the reason why it's very important to be aware of the location of mangrove forests along India's coastline. Because even India's coastline is vulnerable to a variety of disasters such as tsunamis and cyclones. And the mangrove forests present along our coastline, they have acted as a natural barrier. So let's understand the location of mangrove forests by taking up a practice question under relevant map. The question says, mangroves can be found at which of the following location along India's east coast? Is it found at Pichavaram or the Krishna Godavari Delta or at Bhitarkanika or at Sundarbans, which is a shared ecosystem between India and Bangladesh? Now before we answer this question, let me show you a map so that you will become familiar with the location of mangrove forests in India. This map has been drawn up based on satellite data, which is very helpful in mapping out the mangrove forests of the country. If you look at the east coast in particular, mangrove forests can be found at Pichavaram, located over here in Tamil Nadu and Puducherry, which is located along the Kaveri River Delta. Please make a note of this location. Next, mangroves can also be found along the Krishna Godavari Delta in Andhra Pradesh, and they are also found along the Mahanadi River Delta over here in Odisha. This is where you have Bhitarkanika, Gahirmata and other places where mangrove forests can be found in great density. Then when you move towards West Bengal, you find the Sundarbans ecosystem along the delta formed by the Ganga river system, and this is a shared ecosystem between India and Bangladesh. The Sundarbans, it's a Ramsar site, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and you also have a national park under Tiger Reserve because the Sundarbans is home to the Royal Bengal tiger. So these mangrove ecosystems, they are crucial to our biodiversity. They also play an important role in safeguarding us against the impact of disasters. Apart from these locations along the east coast of India, mangrove forests can also be found on the Andaman Nicobar Islands. In fact, when the Andaman Nicobar Islands were hit by the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, the impact had actually been minimized due to the presence of mangrove cover over the Andaman Nicobar Islands. Then finally, if you come to the west coast of India, mangrove forests can be found at the Gulf of Kutch and Gulf of Kambat region in Gujarat. You can also find mangroves on the coastline of Mumbai and Ratnagiri in Maharashtra. It is also found along the coast of Goa, especially along the deltas formed by the Zuari River. And even in Karnataka, between Mangalore and Karwar, there are a number of west-flowing rivers which take birth in the Western Ghats, and they form deltas and backwaters where you find mangrove forests in Karnataka as well. So these are some important locations where mangrove forests are found, and please make a note of them because it could be a potential prelims question. So now that you are aware of these locations, it's very easy to answer this question. The correct answer is option D, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Mangrove forests can be found at all the 4 given locations over here. Now let's move on to the second question. Under the second topic, we are going to talk about the Green Grids Initiative, One Sun, One World, One Grid project, which is a joint initiative between India and the United Kingdom. This topic is in news because British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is visiting India on the 21st of April. During this visit, India and UK are going to take forward their climate partnership, and the most important initiative between the two countries in the field of climate change is the Green Grids Initiative, One Sun, One World, One Grid initiative. You need to know where this initiative is coming up, what is the purpose behind it, which are the regions that are going to be covered by this project, because that could be very important for your prelims. So let's understand this by taking a practice question. Which of the following statements are incorrect? The Green Grids Initiative, One Sun, One World, One Grid, was announced by India and UK at COP26 Climate Summit, which was held last year at Glasgow. It is also backed by the International Solar Alliance and the World Bank. It aims to create a global power grid in 3 phases, with first, the Indian grid to be connected to the grids of Middle East, South Asia, and Southeast Asia. The second phase would connect these grids with the grids in Africa, and the third phase would look at achieving true global interconnection. So you need to check whether these statements are correct. The first 2 statements are very factual, they are related to the initiative, but the third statement, to answer that, to check whether the third statement is correct or incorrect, you should be familiar with the locations where the project is coming up. You should know the regions which are being covered under this important project. See, as you know, India is leading a number of initiatives with regard to climate change. In 2018, Prime Minister Modi announced an initiative known as One Sun, One World, One Grid. Under this initiative, the vision of Prime Minister Modi was to establish an international grid which transmits renewable energy generated through solar and wind power around the world in order to reduce our carbon emissions and to meet our climate change targets. Under this initiative, Prime Minister Modi had proposed the interconnection of grids between India and other regions, especially those regions located in the tropical belt between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, which consists of the sunshine countries which are already members of a grouping known as International Solar Alliance. The International Solar Alliance was also an Indian initiative. India launched this initiative in 2015 during the Paris Summit of the Climate Change Convention. Under the International Solar Alliance, India has brought together the tropical countries, or also called the sunshine countries, which receive maximum sunlight so that their solar potential could be exploited. Already, more than 100 countries have signed on to this initiative, under which India is working with the member countries to develop solar energy in the sunshine countries. Later, the membership of International Solar Alliance was even opened up to include non-tropical countries as well. So now, to take this initiative one step further, India proposed the creation of a common grid, which has been referred to as the One Sun, One World, One Grid initiative. The United Kingdom, on the other hand, had a similar initiative known as the Green Grids Initiative. The UK also had a vision to develop a common grid so that a common electricity sharing infrastructure could be created in order to rely more on solar power and wind power to reduce the dependency on fossil fuels and thus bring down carbon emissions. So since the Green Grids Initiative of the UK aligned with the One Sun, One World, One Grid initiative of India, both the countries decided to launch a joint initiative by merging the two, known as Green Grids Initiative, One Sun, One World, One Grid. This initiative was finalized and launched during last year's Climate Change Summit, which was held at Glasgow, which was the 26th Conference of Parties to the Climate Change Convention that was hosted by the United Kingdom. This initiative is an extension of the International Solar Alliance, so it is backed by the International Solar Alliance and as well as by the World Bank. So that's the reason why the first 2 statements are correct. But to check whether the third statement is correct or not, you should be familiar with the places and regions being covered by this project. You should know the different phases that are involved in the Green Grids Initiative, One Sun, One World, One Grid project. See, this project is being implemented in 3 different phases. Under the first phase, the solar and wind grids in India will be connected with India's immediate neighborhood, that is with its South Asian neighbors, and then it will be extended to connect with the grids of Middle Eastern countries and Southeast Asia. This will complete phase 1 of the project. Then under phase 2, the grids of these regions will be interconnected with the renewable energy grids of Africa, because a large part of Africa lies between the Tropic of Cancer, Equator, and the Tropic of Capricorn, which receive maximum sunlight. And thus most African countries have tremendous potential to rely on solar power, and they also have tremendous wind power potential. So under phase 2, the grids of Asia would be connected with the African grids, and under phase 3, a truly global renewable energy power grid would be set up by connecting with the grids of Europe and other nearby regions. So this is the vision of this joint initiative between India and the United Kingdom. So as you can see, all the 3 statements given here are correct. And since the question is asking you to identify the incorrect statements, the right answer would be option D, none of the above. Now let's move on to the third topic, under which we're going to talk about El Nino and La Nina. You should be familiar with the regions or locations where these phenomena are reported. This topic was in news because last week the IMD, the Indian Meteorological Department, and even a weather organization known as SkyMet, they have predicted that this year there won't be a El Nino phenomena, thereby resulting in normal monsoons for India. I hope you know that El Nino and La Nina are weather-related phenomena which have an impact on weather systems around the world. They have a direct impact on Indian monsoons in particular. So let's understand further by taking a practice question. The El Nino and La Nina phenomena, which affect the Indian monsoon and weather patterns around the world, are reported in which region? Is it reported in northeastern Indian Ocean, South China Sea and the Hawaiian coast? Or is it reported between east coast of Australia, equatorial Pacific and the west coast of Peru? Or between east coast of Australia, northern Pacific and west coast of North America? Or between entire coast of Australia, Southern Ocean and southeast of Indian Ocean? The correct answer is option B. El Nino La Nina phenomena are reported between the east coast of Australia and the west coast of Peru, primarily in the central equatorial Pacific region. Now let me explain this further by using a map. If you look at this map, it becomes clear that La Nina, El Nino phenomena, they take place in the equatorial Pacific. The El Nino phenomena occurs more towards the central east central equatorial Pacific, towards the west coast of Peru and between the east coast of Australia. It refers to an irregular event where there is an abnormal warming of the waters in this part of equatorial Pacific between east coast of Australia and west coast of Peru, and this influences weather patterns in the region and beyond the region. The abnormal warming or heating of these waters in the Pacific Ocean will result in heavy rains in Peru and Ecuador, whereas it will cause droughts and wildfires in Australia and also adversely affects the Indian monsoon, thereby leading to a monsoon deficit or a rainfall deficit in India. It also affects the weather systems in North America and in Africa. Then a related and slightly different phenomena is known as La Nina, which occurs in the same region, and it refers to the abnormal cooling of the waters in this region. The abnormal cooling of the waters in the equatorial Pacific between eastern Australia and western Latin America results in droughts in Peru and Ecuador, whereas brings heavy rains and floods in Australia, and it aids the Indian monsoon, resulting in heavy rainfall in India as well. So these weather phenomena, known as El Nino and La Nina, which impact the weather systems around the world, especially the Indian monsoon, they occur in the equatorial Pacific region over here between eastern Australia and west coast of Latin America. Now coming to the fourth topic, let's talk about the elephant corridors of India. Now this topic is in news because last week the government has introduced an amendment bill to the Wildlife Protection Act. This amendment will bring more species of animals under the protected category under the Wildlife Protection Act. It provides for better enforcement of certain provisions of the CITES Convention or the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, and it also makes certain changes with regard to trade of captive elephants. This amendment bill has raised a concern that it promotes the trade of captive elephants. It is exempting the trade of elephants from its protective provisions, and hence animal activists and environmental activists are concerned that this amendment will lead to the abuse of captive elephants, thereby affecting their well-being in the wild as well, as it could result in increased captivity of elephants. So let's understand the range of elephants in India. in which states are they present, what is their distribution, which are the important elephant corridors of India, and where are they located. Let's do this with the help of a practice question. Which of the following statements are correct? Assam has the highest number of elephants in India. South India has more elephants as compared to Northeast of India. Northeast of India has the highest number of designated elephant corridors. Which of these statements are correct? To answer this question, you need to know about the range and distribution of elephants and elephant corridors in the country. So let's do this by taking the help of few infographics and relevant maps. See, elephants are spread across multiple states of India. They are found in South India, and this is where you find the highest concentration of elephants in the country. The highest number of elephants in any state is found in Karnataka. Karnataka reports more than 6,000 wild elephants. Then comes Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Andaman Nicobar Islands, and Maharashtra. This is as far as southern India is concerned. Then the other major region for elephants is the northeast of India, which has the second highest number of elephants after southern India. Amongst the northeastern states, Assam has the highest number of elephants, followed by Meghalaya, Arunachal Pradesh, West Bengal, Nagaland, Tripura, Manipur, and Mizoram. So with this, a few things become very clear. The state with the highest number of elephants in the country is Karnataka, not Assam. That is why the first statement is incorrect. But if you look at the total number of elephants in southern India and compare this with the number of elephants in northeast of India, you can clearly say that South India has more elephants. It has anywhere between 14 to 16,000 elephants in the wild as compared to just around 10,000 elephants in the wild in the northeast of India. So this makes the first statement incorrect, whereas the second statement is correct. Then coming to number of elephant corridors, the northeast of India definitely has more elephant corridors as compared to South India. This makes the third statement correct, and hence option D, 2 and 3 only, is the right answer. Then apart from southern India and northeast of India, elephants can also be found in the central parts of India, in states such as Odisha, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, West Bengal, and Bihar. That is in the central and eastern belt of India. You can also find them in the northern region, in Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, and Himachal Pradesh over here. These are the states where elephants can be found in India in the wild. But coming to elephant corridors, through which elephants migrate from one place to another, the highest number of corridors are found in the northeast of India as per data from the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Even though South India has more number of elephants, when it comes to the elephant habitat, the extent of the elephant habitat and the number of elephant corridors, northeast of India has more corridors than South India. According to latest data from the Environment Ministry, northeast of India has around 58 elephant corridors, which stretches over an area of around 41,000 square kilometers. Compare this with South India. You will notice that there are just 46 elephant corridors with a combined area of around 40,000 square kilometers. So with regard to area, with regard to number of corridors, northeast region has more than South India. But with regard to total number of elephants, South India clearly has more elephants as compared to northeast of India. Then comes eastern and central India with around 2,500 elephants with nearly 54 corridors, and northwest of India with around 1,500 elephants with around 8 elephant corridors. Then if you look at the map on the right, it provides us more insight about the importance of elephant corridors in the country. If you notice, you will observe that priority 1 corridors, that is the corridors which are of more importance, they are largely concentrated in southern India, especially around the Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats. That is at the tri-junction of Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu is where the highest number of priority 1 elephant corridors are found. This could also be a potential prelims question. UPSC could ask, in which region is the highest number of priority 1 elephant corridors found? The answer is South India. Whereas in central eastern India, northwest of India, northeast of India, you find more of priority 2 and priority 3 elephant corridors, and very few priority 1 corridors are found in these regions. So considering how important the elephant corridors of South India are, you should be familiar with some of these important corridors, especially the corridors present along the western eastern Ghat belt, stretching between Brahmagiri and Nilgiri region, that's located at the tri-junction of Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. This map is highlighting a number of important elephant corridors. Please make a note of them because this could come as a potential prelims question. There are around 20 elephant corridors in just the Brahmagiri-Nilgiri Eastern Ghats belt over here that's located around Bandipur, Nagarhole, Mudumulai and Wayanad. Then we have Nilumbur Silent Valley Coimbatore region where we have two important elephant corridors. Then we have the Periyar Agasthamalai region between Kerala and Tamil Nadu where another important elephant corridor can be found. And we also have the Annamalai Parambikulam area where 5 important elephant corridors are found. Amongst these 28 elephant corridors that we are discussing in the Western Ghats region, these are ecologically very important. The names have been listed over here. Please go through them, make a note of this because this could come as a potential prelims question. Then finally, to further help you on this topic, I'm sharing a table over here which has been taken from a report of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. This report helps you understand the total number of elephant corridors in India. The number stands at 166 and it provides for state-wise distribution of these corridors. It is also listing out the interstate corridors and the international corridors. So if you look at the state-wise distribution, we have 138 elephant corridors and there are 28 interstate corridors. So in total, India has 166 elephant corridors and majority of them are located in the northeast of India, followed by central eastern India and then southern India. Then also have a rough idea about the region-wise distribution of these corridors, the extent or the area of this habitat and the elephant population approximately. And also make a note of the international corridors that we have with our neighboring countries, that is Bangladesh, Bhutan, Myanmar and Nepal. Because elephants are migratory in nature, they move across boundaries and we do have these transnational corridors or international corridors as well. Then coming to the last topic, we are going to take a look at the Solomon Islands, which was in news last week. Last week it was revealed that China is going to sign an important security cooperation agreement with a strategic island known as the Solomon Islands. So this news made global headlines and hence let's understand where the Solomon Islands are located. Let's do this with the help of a question. Where are the Solomon Islands located? Is it in the Caribbean region or Mediterranean or in the Pacific Oceania region or in the Indian Ocean? The correct answer is option C. The Solomon Islands, they are located in the Pacific Oceania region. Let me show you a map so that you become familiar with the geography and the location of this region. This map is highlighting some of the important island countries of the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, along with the important straits and choke points of the Indian Ocean. It is marking out the Strait of Hormuz, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, Mozambique Channel over here, and the Strait of Malacca, which are important strategic choke points and straits located in the Indian Ocean. But this is not the focus for our question. The focus is the Pacific Oceania region, which you can see over here, that is sandwiched between Australia, Asia, North America and South America. In this part of the Central and Southern Pacific, there are a number of island countries which are collectively referred to as the Pacific Island States that are located in the Pacific Oceania region. These countries of the Pacific Oceania, they straddle along the international date line, which you can see over here in the map, which divides the Eastern Hemisphere and the Western Hemisphere. So in this region, we have a number of important strategic island countries, which includes the Federated States of Micronesia, the Marshall Islands, Papua New Guinea to the north of Australia, Nauru, and here you can clearly see the Solomon Islands, which was in news. Below that we have Vanuatu, there is Fiji over here, Kiribati, Samoa, the Cook Islands, Tonga, etc. These countries are strategically very important as there is intense geopolitical competition happening in the Pacific between major global powers such as China, US, India, Australia and Japan. Of late, China has been increasing its diplomatic and military outreach towards the Pacific Island countries, and it has been revealed that China is likely to sign a security cooperation agreement with the Solomon Islands located over here, just to the northeast of Australia. This secret report, which was reported in newspapers, has caused alarm in Australia and US because traditionally Australia and US are very influential in this region. Even India has extended its influence over here because India does have a cultural link with the region, especially with a country known as Fiji. India has a very big cultural connection and a historical connection because Fiji has a strong Indian community who were transported by the British during the colonial times as part of the indentured labor system to work in the plantation crops of Fiji. Even today, Fiji has a strong Indian community, and hence India has good relations with Fiji, and we have a separate outreach as well with the Pacific Island states. We have even created a forum for this, known as the Indo-Pacific Islands Forum, through which we are improving our relations with the Pacific Island nations. These relations are strategic for India. Similarly, Australia, US have strategic ties with these island countries. So now the increasing outreach of China and a possible security agreement with Solomon Islands has triggered concerns for all the other major powers which are also influential in this region. Then also note some of the countries in the region which are in news. For example, the Cook Islands over here is in news because it is a tax haven which is often misused for money laundering. Then you can see Tonga over here near the international date line where a recent volcanic eruption happened. So these are some important locations that you should be familiar with in the Pacific Oceania region. So this completes our discussion, and if you found it to be helpful, do let us know by liking the video, by sharing your comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.